In Tuvalu, the ocean is closing in, a nation under threat from rising seas. But people here have been offered a way out with the world's first climate-linked visa. And more than half the population has applied to leave their homeland.
I don't want to leave, but at this rate, it's a move that must be done.
It's part of an historic deal that gives Tuvaluans facing the impacts of climate change a new pathway to live and work in Australia. Because on these narrow atolls, land is limited and life is becoming harder to sustain.
I prefer migrating to Australia. Maybe my daughter will have a better life and a better education.
But what happens to a nation when the ocean is pushing in and its people are pulling away?
Empty space in the houses. You go to outer islands now, you see a lot of houses, only with the aged still staying there. Active workforce is gone.
As the world stands on the precipice of a great climate migration, Tuvalu has been called the canary in the coal mine. But the country is battling to keep its head above the waves, racing to create more land, pushing its borders out into the sea, in the hopes that those that leave will one day return to a country still standing. It's late afternoon on Tuvalu's main atoll. The last flight of the day has left. And the runway comes alive as people make the most of the wide tarmac. Tuvalu is around 4,000 kilometres northeast of Australia, a group of 9 islands, and space is at a premium here on the main atoll, where more than half the country's 10,000 people live on this narrow strip of land. It's this precarious setting that has made Tuvalu particularly vulnerable to rising seas.
This airstrip only sees a few flights in and out of Funafuti each week. For Tuvalu, this place is a lifeline and connection to the outside world. But it's also becoming a place of heartbreak and hope under a new migration deal with Australia, as many Tuvaluans make the difficult decision to leave Tuvalu for a new life.
It's Saturday and Tuvaluan Elisala is leading Sabbath school at the local Seventh-day Adventist church. Like the majority of Tuvaluans, faith is central to her life. Now it's guiding her through one of her hardest decisions. She and her son Alfred have been selected in the first cohort of the Walkley Mobility Visa. I'm on my way to meet them at their family home.
Hi, Talofa, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Come in. Hi.
Tuvaluan is a single mother.
So this is our living room.
And she lives here in Funafuti with Alfred, her parents, and her younger siblings.
There's a saying that goes, raised by a community. Nobody's raised individually, they're raised by a community. So I am grateful that my community is here at home, and they've been such a blessing to me in helping raising my son. And Alfred's bedroom.
But the life she knows here among her relatives is about to change forever.
Papa. Wow.
Last year, more than 8,000 Tuvaluans applied for just 280 available visas. Tuvaluan's whole family applied, but only she and Alfred were chosen. She says she was torn when she heard the news.
I was numb for the next few hours. I didn't want to tell my parents. I was happy, but then sad at the same time, mostly sad.
It's my time to shine. And tell me a little bit about the hesitation. What set you apart from your family? Why weren't you as interested in taking up the ballot and the visa?
It's just that I wanted to raise my son in this lifestyle, in this culture, in our traditions. I want him to know that he's part of a culture that's rich. It's in his blood, it's in his lineage, it's in his language, it's in his looks, his eyes, his nose, right?
Like many parents here, Tuvaluan is caught between what Tuvalu means to her son and what life here can offer him. Jobs are limited, housing is tight, and the capital is overcrowded as people arrive from the outer islands looking for work, healthcare, and education.
Other than that, obviously, when you go around the island, especially during king tides, you could see the sea level rise. Last month we had the biggest king tide of all time here. The water is actually seeping in from the ground, and that's just been a few years. What's going to happen in 5-10 years' time?
Uncertain about Tuvalu's future, Tuvaluan is leaving the home she loves to give her son a safer life.
When all else fails here in our homeland, we have a plan B to fall to. It means that I can raise him up in a place where we're not threatened by the sea level rise.
At its highest, Tuvalu is only 4.5 metres above sea level. By 2050, it's predicted that half of the capital will be flooded by tidal waters. And some scientists predict the country could be uninhabitable by the year 2100. For Tuvalu, signing the Walkley Union Treaty with Australia was a way to shore up its future. Under the deal, first agreed to in 2023, Australia pledged millions of dollars to help with climate adaptation, critical services and security. And it created the new visa pathway, allowing a small number of Tuvaluans to migrate to Australia each year. But the treaty also gives Australia a say over some of Tuvalu's future agreements with other countries, a move widely seen as part of Canberra's efforts to counter rivals like China. It's left Tuvalu facing difficult questions about sovereignty, security, and how much control it really has over its future.
I think it was a sellout, in fact.
Not everyone here thinks the agreement was in Tuvalu's best interests. Anele Sopawanga is Tuvalu's former Prime Minister, now in opposition.
So everything was being whitewashed, white covered by those possible economic partnerships, job opportunities for Tuvaluans to move to Australia. Okay, take this money, but shut up. We're going to continue burning coal, opening up new coal mines in Australia, selling a lot of coals to India, to China.
How does that make you feel?
I mean, it was a bullying tactic, sort of neo-colonial approach to bilateral cooperation and relations between Tuvalu and Australia. It's frustrating for a big partner such as Australia to be thinking it is right to simply create this pathway, but to put in there some sort of conditions that would sort of affect the sovereignty and sovereign rights of Tuvalu. Why did we have to seek approval from Canberra? Why? If Australia is so concerned about the survival of Tuvalu, I certainly hope they would relook at their coal mining.
While Australia continues to export coal and gas, the federal government has committed to net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. The Australian High Commission in Tuvalu also says the Walkley Treaty was developed together with the government of Tuvalu to address the needs and priorities of both countries. But Mr. Sopawanga also worries that the migration pathway will act as a brain drain on Tuvalu's best and brightest.
And you are taking off our people that we have invested so much training through secondary schools and now are being sucked into by the Falipili to work in industries in Australia. You go to outer islands now, you see a lot of houses only with the aged still staying there. The active workforce is gone.
But in a country where the median household income is just over $22,000 a year, moving to Australia is a tempting prospect. At the Tuvalu Broadcasting Corporation, Stella Futinga leads me to her old newsreading booth,
So this is the main studio.
a place where she found her voice. Stella was Tuvalu's first female camerawoman. Today, she's a TV presenter at the national broadcaster TVBC. So Stella, should we go and see the rest of the office?
You first?
Thank you. What's down here?
So this is the main studio.
What did you enjoy most about this job?
What I enjoy most about is meeting new people, different people, and also everywhere you go, you can
You get a good feed.
grab a food or a snack.
But Stella has made the painful decision to resign and leave after receiving a Falipili visa.
When I resign from here, it's like I'm gonna miss my workmates, especially my news team.
Are you gonna miss this guy?
Yes, 100%. But myself, it's okay because everyone knows I am migrating. So it's like myself is kind of finding myself. Never mind.
Oh no,
I'm
what are you
feeling
gonna say?
emotional. And that's my work colleague, Jessica.
For Stella, this has always been more than a workplace. She spent much of her childhood here when her mother worked in the accounts office.
Hi, how you going?
Now, leaving it behind is part of a much bigger decision, shaped by her one-year-old daughter, AJ. What was the motivation for applying?
What motivates me to apply for the Falipili, it's because they have great opportunities, better education, and better employment, like salary. Maybe my daughter will have a better life and a better education rather than here in Tuvalu.
The people leaving Tuvalu are among the first in the world to face migration on this scale because of climate change. But not every sign of what's driving them away is easy to see.
I'm here at one of the central hubs of Funafuti. Behind me you can see the airstrip, and then of course this is one of the main roads with all those bikes and cars coming down. As you can see, it's completely dry, but then you come just a few steps over here and it's flooded. That's because right now Tuvalu is having one of its highest tides. And then you come just over here and you'll see there's some bubbling. When there's a high tide here in Tuvalu, it doesn't mean that there's big waves coming over and crashing onto shore. The water is actually bubbling up under through this coral atoll. This bubbling means detrimental effects. It means saltwater intrusion and disruption to daily life. These are the real world impacts of climate change in Tuvalu.
Salt water from the high tides is seeping into the land, making it hard to grow food that sustained life here for generations. So I'm heading to Tuvalu's largest supermarket to find out what is actually available, because fresh food is almost non-existent here, and much of what people eat has to be shipped in. Today, around a quarter of Tuvaluans are living with diabetes.
You can see along the shelves there's a whole heap of canned stuff. The staff here have told me that almost everything in this supermarket has been imported. And if you look over here in this fridge, These are some of the only fresh fruits and vegetables that you can get here in Tuvalu. And all of it has been imported from Australia.
But a small farm run by Taiwan has provided a lifeline. For more than 20 years, it's grown desperately needed vegetables. And every week, people line up to buy what the land can no longer easily provide.
What vegetables do you buy?
Cucumbers, cabbage. In Tuvalu, we are so lucky when the farm is open. If not, back to the meat.
We also produce some veggies.
Kiwi is part of the team here that has tested what can grow in Tuvalu's tough conditions. They now harvest 3,000 kilos of produce each month.
During the king tide season, even some seawater, it will emerge from the underground. So all the soil on the ground is salty, and actually it's not soil, it's sand. It's not so suitable for growing the veggies.
Even the soil here has had to be imported, brought in from Taiwan and Fiji and lifted into raised beds, away from the creeping salt water.
So even when the king tide season, the seawater won't get into our soil. And the other is there's a very special pest in Tuvalu, it's crabs. Yeah, so if we're growing, if we use this kind of table, the crabs are very hard to climb up to eat our veggies. So that also can keep some crabs away.
So the crabs like to eat the vegetables?
Yeah, they are very naughty. They will use their hand to cut our seedling. Yes.
While people remain positive, these problems are only intensifying and threatening the very survival of the country. But for Tuvalu's climate change minister, Maina Talia, these are challenges that must be overcome. And work is underway to do just that.
How are you? Thanks so much for inviting me to your home.
His house used to sit on the edge of the sea.
So basically this is the shoreline before. So I can say like last year, this is ocean.
Okay. And then as we come up here, how high are we now above sea level?
Well, this is basically around 5 to 6 meters above the sea.
It's part of the Tuvalu Coastal Adaptation Project, also known as TCAP.
This is where the new Parliament House will be built. And this will be the first ever proper Parliament House to be built here in Tuvalu. But significantly, it will be built on a TCAP, a reclaimed land. So we are literally telling the world that hard decisions for the country and the future of this country are decided on this reclaimed land.
Over the last 8 years, Tuvalu has been building its way out of danger. Out in the lagoon's pristine waters, an extraordinary engineering feat is underway that Australian coastal engineer James Lewis has helped design.
So that's a cutter suction dredge, and it will just basically work like a big vacuum cleaner and suck the first top layers of sand off and bring it up onto the coast.
On shore, that sand is fed into a ring of giant geotextile containers. More sand is pumped in behind the ring and water drains out, compacting it down. Another ring of geotextile containers is placed on top of this, and layer by layer, new land begins to rise.
The people of Funafuti are, they are survivors, and they've survived here in this harsh environment for a long time. So we're just working with the natural process of the island building, but also with the community's, willingness to survive.
Mr. Talia says work like this shows that Tuvalu will not disappear.
It's about time that we should condemn the notion of being called climate refugees. They are given the choice by the Australian government to go and work overseas and to return home. So it's a two-way street.
A couple of years ago, you spoke about your own children, that you lay awake at night, concerned about what climate change, the impact it was going to have on them and that generation here in Tuvalu. Now, in a position of power as climate change minister, walking here on reclaimed land, how do you see the future of Tuvalu at the moment?
When I look into reclaimed land, I always look into assurance, as I said earlier, because this really assured my children and their future that they have a future here in Tuvalu. Not just because of the reclaimed land, but because of the space they have given to grow, to develop, and to live here in Tuvalu. So it's not just for my kids, but those who are willing to stay back and live in this God-given land.
The word Falepili, used in Tuvalu's treaty and visa with Australia, means to live as a good neighbour. It's a value shaped by life on these low-lying atolls, where community, cooperation, and a deep responsibility to each other are central to everyday life. And through traditional dance, song, and storytelling, Tuvaluans pass down these values, histories, and memories that hold their islands together. For those preparing to leave, the worry is how to carry those connections with them.
I do have reservations because when we move, it'll just be the two of us. I'm afraid that I won't be enough to teach my son all that he has to know of our cultures, of our traditions. I myself don't know all of it. Like I said, we lived in Australia for 4 years during my dad's study. And just imagine 4 years that we were there. When we came back, I could hardly speak our language.
For Tuvalu, time is quickly running out before she leaves. But there are still big milestones to mark. And she's invited me to Alfred's 4th birthday at one of the family's favourite restaurants. It's the last birthday Alfred might have in Tuvalu for a long time. And his grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins are all here to celebrate. With the birthday cake being passed around, his family recites a Tuvaluan blessing.
Okay, to the wolf side. Wolf side, where's the wolf? Right, that road, Tuvalu Road. Tuvalu Road. To the lagoon. Lagoon. Okay, back here to Alfred. And say before we eat, we say, Manuia Asofanao Alfred. Manuia Asofanao Alfred. Enjoy.
Some may say that Tuvalu will be here forever, and I am so hoping it does. Some say that it'll disappear in the future. I don't know what the future holds. But my priority right now is a place for my son in this world. And I think that's what drives every other parent to make that decision to leave our shores, because we don't want to go.
Under the Falepili visa, Tuvaluans are free to move anywhere in Australia. Melbourne has Tuvalu's largest diaspora in the country and has proved a popular choice. Today, I'm meeting up with New Boland, a Tuvaluan community leader at a local gathering in the city's west.
Hi, New.
Hi, Jordan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for inviting us.
He's lived in Melbourne for 10 years and every few months helps organise community events to bring the Tuvaluan diaspora together.
I always kind of missed that communal gatherings in Tuvalu. So moving to Melbourne and seeing other families from Tuvalu here, so it kind of gave me that sense of belonging, you know.
Among the food, dance, games, and laughter, here, Tuvalu doesn't feel so far away, which is especially important for young Tuvaluans who are born here in Australia and want to be in touch with their culture.
You know, being able to connect with the people here, people who can just tell me things about the culture, because like, you know, if you're speaking with your elders or something, like people who come from Tuvalu, and they start speaking Tuvaluan to you, you're not going to understand what they're saying most of the time. So being here really helps.
As the Tuvaluan community here expands with the new Falapili arrivals, Niu has been a key part of helping them settle into Australia.
When you look back on this year, how do you feel about the migration pathway and how it's worked?
I feel like most Tuvaluans are happy with it. Most of them just want the chance to move overseas and, and provide better for their families.
The Australian government has engaged resettlement services to help new arrivals, but Niu says that much of the burden still falls on the diaspora.
From the community's perspective, they like to see more support with housing, most likely, because sometimes you can get cramped in a 4-bedroom house. I've got a cousin who lives down the road. They've had 2 families moved in the past 3 weeks, and I think there's about 7 kids in the house.
Niu also has a Falapili family staying with him. Falmale, his wife Telieta, and their kids, who have moved to Australia for better jobs, healthcare, and education opportunities.
We're hoping to get, a better life here.
Tuvalu's future is no longer only being shaped on its islands, but in places like this, where families are starting over again.
We're thinking of the future of our children, and we want them to have a better life and a better education. We had to sacrifice those things and just come over here, coming to a bigger country, and just it brings us, together. And sorry, it's just missing home.
Hundreds, possibly thousands, will follow in their footsteps, weighing up the same sacrifice, leaving a home they love in search of a more secure future. But even across a vast ocean, they remain bound to these islands and to the hope that Tuvalu will endure.